So one of the one of the dynamics with famines that are pretty unique relative to a lot of humanitarian disasters is you can see them coming, and you can see them coming pretty far out. So it's a bit like a slow motion version of hurricane early warning. With a hurricane, you can see it coming, you can clear people out of the way, you can prepare. It's a bit analogous to what we can do with famines. And so the first alarms of the potential for a famine were actually sounded in December 2023. And that was after, in the initial months of the war, if you remember, the defense secretary talked about a total siege on Gaza, and they largely implemented that. And it rapidly began pushing the population into a position of severe deprivation, such that some of the indicators that we track on famines began to turn orange. And so at that point, there was a warning from this system called the IPC. Basically,
Right.
that's the world's famine early warning system. And so then there was another warning in March of last year that said, okay, the warnings in December are beginning to come to fruition. And if there's not a major change, there will be famine conditions beginning to emerge. And following that, in April of last year, the Israelis opened up the floodgates to much more aid. And through March and or through April into May, things improved. And so that's we've seen that up and down dynamic really throughout all of last year. And what that does when you are keeping a population one or two steps removed from a truly severe hunger starvation crisis is that they get progressively weaker and weaker over time, and resilience goes down. And so by the time then that the Israelis reimposed a total blockade in March of this year, there was really very little resilience left in the population. And so they were much more vulnerable to rapidly going in towards severe malnutrition and ultimately mortality outcomes than they would have been a year prior.